Good evening. Welcome to our Thursday night Pnimiyus HaTorah podcast. As usual, we're going to try to be Mazel Tov Rabbi Ely, and really what I'm going to be saying tonight is from last week's Parsha. And it's just I said in my Shmooze Friday, but I didn't get it recorded, so I'm going to use this opportunity to get this transcribed. But but also I think it obviously everything all ties in to the bigger picture. This week's Parsha is ultimately the Gilui of the Tachlis of all Bereishis Olam. Yaakov Avinu comes onto the scene. Yaakov Avinu is Bechir Sheba Aves. Yaakov Avinu is Bechir Sheba Aves. Everything that's been going on until now in the Torah has been leading up to Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu is Bechir Sheba Aves. Yaakov Avinu is Keneged Torah. Avram is Chesed. Yitzchak is Avodah. Gemilas Torah Avodah. Gemilas Chasadim. Gemilas Chasadim is Avram. Avodah is Yitzchak. And Torah, ultimately, Torah is the Tachlis of the Ganze Bria. And this is the week that finally Yitzchak makes his way onto the scene. Yaakov makes his way onto the scene. Excuse me. The Avodah for all the obvious up to Yaakov is really they're all working together to get to Yaakov. And we mentioned in the past that Avram and Sarah are Masakin the Chet of Adam and Chava. And every time you have someone that's being Masakin the Chet of Adam and Chava, so it's Kila is like a new Bria Sayil going on. They have to Adam and Chava are the first. Right? They're the original people. And if Avram and Sarah are taking over the positions of Adam and Chava, so Mela, and some Bechina, there's a whole new Bria Olam. Ela told the Shemayim Arts Bihi Baram. The Shemayim Arts is a new Bria Bihi Baram. This is Avram. This is a new Bria Olam. Avram Avinu state in Southern Megal HaMukas. Not sure if he brings it from Isaiah. He says Avram Avinu was so much the tikkun of Adam Rishon. Adam Rishon, the Chet Eitz Hadas, that was a Bechina of Avodah Zarah. And Psili Elikayim Tisrifun Beish. And Mela, that's why Avram Avinu had to go to Kivshan Eish. Before he started any of his Avodah, first he has to go to Kivshan Eish. And the Kivshan Eish is Kilu to remake him. Right, the Psili Elikayim Tisrifun Beish.
And he fought against Avodah Zarah.
He fought against Avodah Zarah, right? And then but also he had to go through that tikkun of being Nisraf Beish. Now I'm not sure exactly what the bar Psili Elikayim Tisrifun Beish when the Einish of Avodah Zarah skila, not sreifa, but this Indian of it being serif be'esh, the Indian of Avodah Zarah. So Avram and Sarah are the new Adam and Chava, but believe it or not, Yitzchak and Rivka are the next level of Adam and Chava, because ultimately Yaakov Avinu is the Hisgalos of Torah. This is the Vayihar, right? This is the ultimate Vayihar. So there is a teaming up of Avram and Sarah and Yitzchak and Rivka. So we mentioned that in the past that Yitzchak was the Bechina of Sarah, and that's why he couldn't be Miled. Now Yitzchak couldn't be Miled. For that reason, he didn't get married till after the Akedah. By the Akedah, he switched out his Bechina from Sarah, and his neshama was parcha by the Akedah. And Mela, his neshama was parcha. Sarah and Yitzchak are connected, right? Because Yitzchak was really, until then, Yitzchak was considered Yinei Bein L'Sari Yishtecha. Yitzchak had a shayach to Sarah, right? L'Sara Bein, Yinei Bein L'Sari Yishtecha. Yitzchak is the bechin of Sarah, right? After that, when you go into the Akedah, right? There, Avram starts saying Bini, Bini, right? Because all of a sudden it's getting to new bechin of Bnei Avram. And Yitzchak's parach. Say what happens? They're nafshik shur b'nafshay. Yitzchak's neshama leaves by the Akedah. Sarah dies. Okay. What happens when Sarah dies? Everything moves to the next generation. Rivka is born that day, right? Hine yolda banam nacha achicha, right? Right after that Akedah, Rivka is born. Why is Rivka born? Because you know Rivka is? Rivka is now Sarah. Rivka is now Chava. Okay? Who's Yitzchak now? Yitzchak takes on Avram, like we said, that Yitzchak became Avram, Bechin of Avram by the Akedah, right? He supplanted Avram, he became now Bechin of Adam Arishan. That's we said, Vayikra L'Malach Hashem Min HaShemayim, Vayima Avram, right? We said Avram is Avram, and Yitzchak is Avram, which now Yitzchak is Bechin of Adam. Rivka is born, she's a Bechin of Chava. Okay, in as much as Yitzchak and Rivka are now Adam and Chava, but they're at the final stages. Why does it have to be done again and again? There's tikkunim of nefesh, there's tikkunim of ruach, there's different tikkunim on different levels. So Mela, we're coming to Yaakov now, but the final step of Adam and Chava finally doing it right. Adam and Chava also had to have a Kain and a Hevel. Hevel's a tzaddik and Kain is a rasha, and they have Esav and Yaakov, right? Also. The Keneged, the Kain and Hevel. Okay,
it wasn't an inherent pigam in them. It just had to be that way, because otherwise you say, how could an Esav come out of a Yitzchak?
Right, about it. It all eventually gets its tikkun, right? Esav gets its tikkun, right?
Was Esav Kain?
Yes, I said Esav Keneged Kain. Is he Mamash Gilgal of Kain? That I can't tell you. But just like you have, I mean, there's many beginners that are said, but I'm just pointing out one nekuda that this correspondence of Adam and Chava, Kain and Hevel, Yitzchak and Rivka, and Yaakov and Esav. Ultimately, we know Esav is going to have his tikkun, right? As I state that Yitzchak is Esav is called the Chazer, right? The Chazer is Inyan that he's also lahachzir le kedusha, right? There's going to be some sort of tshuva on him, and the Chazal tell us that Asid Chazer, right? Lias Tahar, and so ultimately Yitzchak Esav is going to have his tikkun, and this is Meruma's part of it, at least a chelik of the tikkun in the beginning of the parasha. Shnei goyim bevitnech, hatik goyim elegayim is Pnimiyus HaTorah are the tikkun of Yaakov and Esav. I think we spoke about this last year about Pnimiyus HaTorah. Pnimiyus is from Esav, right? He was a melech of Esav, and Rabbi Nasi is a tikkun of
coming up.
And Rabbi Nasi is a tikkun of Yaakov, and that's where you saw at least one very high level of tikkun of Esav, because ultimately, like we were saying, what is Yaakov? Yaakov is the bechir shabavis, because Yaakov is Torah, right? Yaakov is the bechir of Torah, and how do we have Torah nowadays? Only b'schus Rabbi Nasi, right? Our whole Torah is Rabbi Nasi's kesheft, his Torah Shabbat Peh. From his Torah Shabbat Peh came Gemara and everything we have is through his what he was misader. How was Rabbi Nasi misader everything? Only with the backing of Antoninus, right? That's what Rashi tells us, that Antoninus, he funded Rabbi Nasi to bring together all the Talmid Chacham in Eretz Yisrael, and he paid them stipends to sit and be Mishnah and Mishnayos for whatever number of years that it was. It was a very yeah. It's all.
That was ultimately the tikkun.
This is his tikkun, right? That he contributed to this. This is the shnei game bevitnech, right? So this is what's going on in the parish, at least in the Pnimiyus Shabbat. So. Just interesting, just from the very beginning, where Avram really starts the quest of shleimus and this ability to be misakin, chet of Adam Rishon, and to bring Yitzchak and to make Yitzchak and to bring Yitzchak to his new madrega. So there's a lot of remozim of that, but all this ultimately is for Yaakov. Okay, and the remozim of Yaakov is mentioned by Baka Atel Oila by the Akedah. Hayibaka is Isis Yankov, right? the pasuk says, "Bayom hashlishi vayisa Avram es einav." In the Bayom hashlishi, state in the Son Megalamuk, he says, "Bayom hashlishi is Yaakov is a midah shlishis." When you say Yom is a midah, every day of the week is another midah, right? If you know anything about the days of the week, you're right. There's 7 days of the week because there's 7 midas. Chesed, Gvur, Tiferes, Netzach, Yisai, Malchus. Right. So Bayom hashlishi is bichin of Yaakov. That this whole undertaking of Akedah is ultimately to bring about a Yaakov. So this week's parsha, we're getting into past the first level B'rias Olam, moving on to Tikkun Olam. The first pasuk of the parsha, Be'el told us Yitzchak ben Avram halal es Yitzchak. Right? Zok Rashi, told us Yitzchak ben Avram. Doesn't say anything about Toldos Yitzchak ben Avram. Zok Rashi, Yaakov Esav hamurim beparsha. Okay. The pasuk seems to divert, right? Avram halal es Yitzchak. Fact Rashi, why are we saying Avram halal es Yitzchak? We're trying to tell us of Yitzchak. Zok Rashi, that you see Toldos Yitzchak ben Avram, there's a kasha. Is Yitzchak the ben Avram? Right? The Litzaniah Torah is saying Yitzchak not ben Avram. Yitzchak is ben Avimelech, Haraya. Avram, Sarah didn't give birth till she spent some time in Avimelech's house. So Melech Sarah classed upon of that Yitzchak looked exactly like Avram, and everyone said Avram halal es Yitzchak. That's a Rashi job. Meaning, Eil tells us ben Avram, leaves us with a kasha. Right? What's a kasha? Was Yitzchak really ben Avram? Litzaniah Torah say otherwise. The end of the pasuk is Avram halal es Yitzchak. Everyone could see that Avram was halal es Yitzchak because they looked exactly alike.
But Avram had Yishmael.
Huh?
Avram had Yishmael. It couldn't be that the issue was that Avram couldn't be Ma'aleh if he had Yishmael.
Okay, I hear.
Or if you're a Litzaniah Adar, it doesn't really. The facts don't really matter.
I mean,
You can still mock
it was 13 years earlier, but okay. But Rashi is telling us that Avram halal es Yitzchak is coming to answer a kasha of that's this bar from Eil Toldos Yitzchak ben Avram. So the Megalamuk says it's coming to answer a different kasha. Eil Toldos Yitzchak ben Avram. How can Yitzchak have children? What, Yitzchak's going to have children? Yitzchak can't have children, right? Yitzchak is a b'chin of Sarah. He's nukva, right? He's din. He's not moiled. And for the pasuk, Avram halal es Yitzchak. Until now, Yitzchak was b'nei ben l'sari ishtecha, il Sarah bein. Avram halal es Yitzchak. Avram was later moiled es Yitzchak. Where was he moiled Yitzchak? He was moiled Yitzchak by that Kedah. So Yitzchak had a transformation to be a ben Avram. And so Mela, that's from the very beginning. We're also referencing that Yitzchak's having children. Yitzchak's having children only because Yitzchak's whole madrega changed, right? And that's the reason that Yitzchak ben Avram Shalom Kachtes Rivka. He had to wait until that age, till he got married, because that was the point. Avram halal es Yitzchak, and only then, right, was Rivka able to be born. Now that Avram was halal es Yitzchak, and ultimately, so Yitzchak couldn't really get married until he was 40 years. All part of that cheshbon. They had to wait so long for that tikkun to happen. I saw someplace interesting. The state in Chayesara, it says, it brings down a pasuk that HaKadosh Baruch Hu Vayu Chayesara. It says, what's the pasuk? The pasuk is a pasuk that talks about HaKadosh Baruch Hu is memalish noisav of tzaddikim. So they said the following shot, that why did they have to be in Akedah, right? One of the reasons to be in Akedah was that Rashi brings down that the Satan was Mekatrig, right? That when Avram was he made a party when he weaned Yitzchak. He made a whole party, invited everybody, and the Satan came to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Mekatrig. He didn't bring any karbanis out of Haidah to you. So HaKadosh Baruch said, didn't bring any karbanis to me. Believe me, it's not a time. If I told him to mark of his son, he would be mark of his son. So his son said, okay, let's see. Right? So already from the time Yitzchak was 2 years old, right? From the time Yitzchak was 2 years old, there was already this Kitching, and the Akedah was already announced over there. Why did it take so long for the Nisayin to be brought about? The answer is because because the Kadosh Baruch Hu is Mahal Shneisav of Tzadikim. Sarah had to live 127 years.
And she was going to die by that Kedah.
And she was going to die by that Kedah, right? So Mela, he had to push off that Kedah to be the day Sarah was meant to die. Okay?
So why is it shot that she died because she heard she was so shocked
well,
from
we explained what the shot is. It's muchach. We described it not so much as the shock, but kamachin nichta parcha nishmasa, right? But the pshat is that but you think that Nebuch Sarah, right? Her son goes for that Kedah and she's nifted from it. It just seems like a panic, Nebuch, like it shouldn't have been this way. No, Adrabah, the whole Kedah was being programmed, was being scheduled based on when Sarah's meant to die, and when Sarah's meant to die, then it comes through the way it's meant to happen. Okay, I'm not sure exactly why I said that, but no, but I just saw last week it should it's just like it takes away like the sense of, oh, how could it be? Avram does such a big Messiah, and he does that Kedah, and this is what he gets, and it's exactly the opposite. The whole Messiah was pushed off to be timed exactly the time when Sarah was meant to be nifter. So the Kitzah
She died at a very old age, no?
127?
Yes, I'm saying, so it's like, so why would people... Why would people look at that necessarily as a sign to see someone that she lived till 100? She had a kid at a very old age. She had
Not sure.
Why would someone consider that even in this?
Because it's like, she died out of the shock from that kid. That people say, oh, how could Hashem allow such a thing to happen? And we're saying it's exactly the opposite.
So because we're saying as follows, that Yitzchak and Rivka sort of supplant Avram and Sarah, who supplanted Adam and Chava. And like we described, every time you're supplanting Adam and Chava, there's a new Bereishis going on. There's a new matziv of Bereishis, Toldos Shemayim B'aretz Bihi Bar Mazel Avram. There's a new Olam over here. And I just want to say a vart, and the way I'm going to tie in the vart is by saying that where do you see manifested in Yitzchak and Rivka a new Bereishis? Okay, where do you see that that Kilu there was where do you see Lamaisa that there was a new beginning, there was a fresh start, there was something different, something that pinpoints, look, this is a fresh start. Okay, so there is something known as the first pasuk in the Torah, Bereishis, Kim Es Hashmayim Es Aretz. We spoke about it last year in the Ar Hagonis Torah. I think Chanukah we have to be listened to it. But Es Hashemayim Ves Aretz is Rashi Tevis Aleph K, Vav K. Okay, and this is known as a Shem HaTayv. Okay, and it's a Shem of Kadosh Baruch Hu, Aleph K Vav K. It's like a Yud K Vav K, which sounds like with the Eke. It's a mixture of Eke, Yud K Vav K. Okay, it's called a Shem HaTayv because Matthew 17 with the Shem HaTayv. The Shem of Aleph K Vav K is known as probably has known as many names, but it's a name it's a Shem Hashem that's used for Kfitzas Haderech. Why is it the Shem Hashem that's used for Kfitzas Haderech? Because in as much as this is a Shem of Es Hashmayim Ves Haaretz, which is before, right, for the Bereishis Baruch Es Hashmayim Ves Haaretz, you're before there's any Seder over here. There's just Shemayim and Aretz without all the order, all the physics being in place, right? So Mela at that point, there's no Zman, right? Bereishis at that moment, right? You're holding at the hashpah of Kaidim Zman, right? If you're Kaidim Zman, you Kaidim space, right? So if you're beyond Zman and space, you know what? You could travel very long distances in a very short amount of time, okay?
So next time you're in traffic.
So the Shem of Kfitzas Haderech is this is a musig of connecting to Bereishis Olam. Okay, Kilu, we move to Bereishis Olam. We find Kfitzas Haderech is something that plays a very integral role in the shidduch of Yitzchak and Rivka. Okay, and I'm going to, in order for purposes of tying this vart into what we're saying, I want to suggest that the Kfitzas Haderech in the shidduch of Yitzchak and Rivka is there to show, right, that here, this is a new Bria. Okay? That's what I want.
It's not too much of a stretch, Rabbi. Just use the Kvitz HaDerech to get you
yeah.
to there.
It's not such a step, but the idea is what's happens. You know what I'm saying? Since when do we play games, right? You have a mitzvah to do. Do with all the tircha. With it's like you don't learn with art scroll. Yeah, you learn with a shas without the bold Rashi to Ramaskas because you got the schwitz, right? And Memele Eliezer is sent to go get a shidduch for Rivka last week's parsha, and he tells over to Besuel Lavan, right? Va'avai hayoim el ha'ayin. Right, he says, "I came today to the ayin." Right, and Zakt Rashi, Hayom Yotzasi, Hayom Basi, Mikaja Kaftzaloi Haaretz.
Isn't that the same Rosh Davis as the Hashem?
That's the thing. So state in Svarim Hakadoshim, Va'avai Hayom El Ha'ayin is Rashi Teves Vav K Aleph K, which is different permutation of Aleph K Vav K, but it's the same Isius. And Memela, this was the Shem Kvitz HaDerech. He'd been Merambas in the Rosh Tevis of what he's saying. Hayom Yotzasi, Hayom Basi, Mikaja Kaftzaloi Haaretz. Zakta Ayv Yisrael. The Lashon Rashi is Mikaja Kaftzaloi Haaretz. Kvitz HaDerech normally you would think as a person moves very quickly. When you say the Shem Aleph K Vav K, then that's Kvitz HaDerech, you move quickly. When you say in a different permutation, Vav K Aleph K, so then that makes a different pool, the same idea, but the Aretz is kafza instead of the person being kafetz. Okay,
is there something that happens or something that the tzaddik influences? The Baal Shem Tov, whatever over here, did he use the shame?
Yeah, use the shame. Yeah, that's how it happens. It doesn't just happen.
So it's not like a nice thing that Hashem makes happen for the tzaddik. That he takes one step and he's there.
I can't say that never happens, but generally the way we do, the way Kriyas is done is by actually saying
influencing,
by saying the shame.
Yeah. Last time we did it, that's how it worked.
Yeah.
Usually that's how we do it.
Yeah. Just to clear a big runway because we say the shame like in front of a brick wall. It's boom. Okay, so yeah, so that's what the Ivy Yisrael says. He makes this. I saw this in your sefer, in your Zayda sefer, in the sefer from the Ramaz. Sharsha Shem is from the Ramaz. On the Shem of Aleph K Vav K, they bring in the footnote this Ivy Yisrael, I believe it was. So Mela, that was what happened. Is Mikash Kaftzaloi Arts because he was Maram is the shame being different. So you see that it wasn't the normal Kvitz HaDerech that the person jumped. It was at the Kaftzaloi Arts. As I said, the Ivy Yisrael. Okay, so yes, use Kvitz HaDerech. Why do you use Kvitz HaDerech? Again, because what we're doing is we're entering a Bechina of Bereishis Bar Lekim Eser Shemaim B'Saaretz. Mela, this becomes a teva now. This is where we're holding it as far as Bria goes. Okay, not just he was too lazy, right? But rather,
he's feeding off of the Bechina of Avram in order to use it, in order to connect to that, because Avram was the Behemah.
That's the same. But Yitzchak and Rivka are they going to be that next level? That's what I'm saying. So every time you're really
so you almost needed it.
That's what I'm saying. Right. It was mochach to happen. Right. That's the thing. It wasn't being lazy, but in as much as what we're doing over here is we're restarting Bereishis because because again Avram and Sarah and Yitzchak and Rivka supplant them and they're redoing that avoid. They may say again nefesh ruach whatever it is, but at the end of the day, it's a repeat of that same avoid. So Mela it connects to a new bria. So just stop. So I just want to talk a little bit about just some interesting Ramazim that I noticed, and so that is Abba Yom Alayin is a Rosh Tevis of the Shem of Kvitz HaDerech. The Shem of Kvitz HaDerech we said is called the Shem HaTayv because Gematria 17, which is Gematria Tayv.
Yeah, it's called Sha'asa being a Tayv.
In a Tayv. So so I was thinking as follows: if Eliezer, when he tells over the story to Besuel, right? He talks about his Kvitz HaDerech. So you would think there would be some sort of remez to the Kvitz HaDerech in real time when Eliezer went to Charan. Okay, so let's look back to when Eliezer went back to Charan. The pasuk says as a V'yikach ha'ever asar gemalim gemali adainav v'yelech. He took Gmalim, and he went v'chal tov adayna biyadei. He took all his master's belongings, all his possessions. In fact, Rashi, how do you take all his possessions? You have to take thousands of sheep and goats and cows. So Rashi, right? V'chal tov adayna biyadei is a star matana. Okay. I wanted Taina, right? How did he travel? Kitzadech. What's the Shem Kitzadech? Shem HaTayv. Chal Tov Adainav Biyodais Bimirabes, that he went with the Shem HaTayv in order to do Kitzadech. Okay?
Also, the star, in a way, the star is condensing everything into one thing, whereas Kitzadech also you kind of going beyond having to deal with all the thousands of sheep and the thousands of cows.
Listen to this Rashi. Okay? Chal Tov Adonai Biyodei. What am I saying? Chal Tov is Shem Kitzadech. Right? What does Rashi say? Chal Tov Adonai Biyodei. Shtar Matan Kosav Liyitzchak. Akal Shalai. Okay? But everyone ignores the end of the Rashi. Kidei Sheyikpitzu V'shleach Lai Bitam. Kidei Sheyikpitzu. Right? V'shleach Lai Bitam. Okay? He could be kaivetz to get the shleach lebitam, that he could be kaivetz to get Rivka, and he could be kaivetz back with Rivka, which we're going to get. Okay, but just another ha'ara. When you say vayikach, what is the tag of vayikach normally? If you're taking an item, right? You would say he was natal, right? Or lashon unisav. When you take a person you don't. Going to say vayikach kairach, right? Took those people. You don't carry them. You don't schlep them. You take them b'dibur. Okay. Vayikach asar gmalim migmal adoinav l'chayra. You don't take gmalim like a person. You take them like an object, right? And it should say unisav. What's the talking about here? Udvar avda. Right? Why is it dvar? In as much as he was doing it, they kvitz saderech. So it was takai de dibur. He took them. Okay, that was dumb. Now this is you could do a little research on the word vayikach, when it says dvar, when it doesn't. So there are times that even by behemoth it says lashon dvar and tzarich ian, but that's just l'rav chadamil over here. Comes along. He gets to Besuel at the end of the parasha, and now he's coming back. He gets to Charan, and now he's coming back to Eretz Yisrael. Right? If he's coming back to Eretz Yisrael with Rivka, you would think that the same way he went with Kitzas Derech, he's going to come back with Kitzas Derech, right? Like we told him with Dr. Rashi. He'll do everything on Yidei Kvitza, even bringing her back on Yidei Kvitza.
Great way to impress a prospective column.
Yeah. So, no, again, it's not to impress it. The whole bechin of the zibug has to be
that.
Has to be a Bereishis bralakim, Mazel Tov Rabbi Ely. Okay, so if you look at where they're going back, there's a Paltek kasha over here. I don't see anyone ask the kasha, and I think this is only Teretz. V'takam Rivka v'nariseha, right? It says again, they're sending off Rivka, right? Vayishach Rivka achois v'esminikta. V'said Abed Avram v'sanosha. Vayivarchus Rivka. Vayomer lo achoisena atayila al firvava. V'yazach eishar soinav. Okay. First state. So they're sending off. V'takam Rivka v'nariseha. Rivka and her naris get up. V'terkavna al gabal. And they're riding on the camels. V'telach nachar Eish, and they're going after Eliezer. Okay, so picture it. Eliezer's on a camel. Behind there's a camel with Rivka, and they're galloping along. Okay, what's the next words in the pasuk? Vayikach ha'eved es Rivka vayelach. And Eved takes Rivka, and they went. He took her. She's on a camel behind him. What's Vayikach ha'eved es Rivka vayelach? What's the answer?
Yikach.
Kitzadech. He took her. She sat on the camel, but she didn't travel back by camel. She traveled back. Vayikach eves Rivka udevar abda yos Rivka. He said the Shem Kitzadech, and off they went. Okay, so that's miyasha. Why I said Vayikach eves Rivka vayelach, right? Because he did a kicha, the dibur of Shem Kitzadech. Rei davar pella. What are the Rashi Tevis? Acharei ha'ish vayikach ha'eved. Aleph K, Vav K, Shem Kvitza Derech. Okay? Because if he went with Kvitza Derech, he's going back with Kvitza Derech. Because Mahal Tzich, Esa Shemayim Esa Arts to Kavelt, of bringing Adam Mechava together. You know what's before Adam Mechava come together? There's a whole new brio. We have Esa Shemayim Esa Arts, and therefore everything is being done at the Kvitza Derech. Over here, the Shem of Kvitza Derech is Aleph K, Vav K, Kisidron. So the Kvitza Derech would be a new Kvitza. The real Kvitza, that the person's Kaifetz, instead of the Kafza Leha Aretz, they were Kaifetz. So Mahavim gefrekt at Kasha, what happens when he came to Charan, it was in this Kafza Leha Aretz, and when he went back to Eretz Yisrael, so it was Kafza Lei, they were Kafza, right? So my son, Yisrael Aaron, Tainid, he says, when he went there, right, he was able to be Kafza Lei Aretz, because he's jumping Charan to Eretz Yisrael. Charan jumped to him, right? So fine, you brought Chutz La'aretz to Eretz Yisrael. Going back though, you can't schlep Eretz Yisrael to Chutz La'aretz, right? So Mela, he had to jump back to Eretz Yisrael. Okay, why couldn't he jump both ways? Maybe he had the ability of being Mala, the Charan to begin in Eretz Yisrael. Maybe that would be a Mala. But anyway. That was enough community that you can't schlep Eretz Yisrael to Chutz La'aretz. Mela, at that point, he had to do it. He did the regular kvitza of regular Shem of Kvitza Derech. So that is the sidus of Kvitza Derech. The Ramazim in Yitzchak, Eliezer and Rivka on the way their trip, and Sai on the way back. And we should be zeiche to be dovik and midas Yankov the Torah and have the chesed of Avram and the gvura of Yitzchak, and we should be zeiche to build our naye welt, like we spoke about last week. Every day taka is a new bria sa'olam on some level. We should all be build our welt on Torah, avodah, minas chasadim, be zeiche to geula kroive b'mheide. I can shout.